And Brandon, let's move right along into our third topic before we make our picks for the week in college football. And we're taking a look at the NFL draft. Just want to throw this out here. Big board for the NFL in 2 weeks from today. I'm going to pull up the exact date. We're going to be recording that on December 3rd, that Monday. So December 4th, be looking for that. And next week, November 26th, we will be recording our first NBA big board. So on the 27th, take a look out for that. We are officially in draft SZN, or as the cool kids call it, draft season, Brandon. And we're taking a look at Damien Harris. And I didn't ask you before the segment, so I will ask you now, which question would you like to look at? Do you want to say, will Damien Harris be a first-round pick? Should he be a first-round pick? Or could he be a first-round pick? What angle do you want to look at this?
I'll say could he.
All right.
Well, let's go from the could he be a first-round pick.
So let me ask you this. We're looking at Damien Harris, kind of our little draft-y profile here. I'll ask you, could Damien Harris be a first-round pick in the NFL draft for 2019?
Here's the thing, is I think he could. And the reason I think he could is because, Ricky, there's no Saquon Barkley in this class. There's no running back that you're going to look at and you're going to go...
No Ezekiel Elliott?
No, there's not. And that's not to say that there aren't good running backs available in this class, but it's certainly not one that has, to this point, separated themselves from the others. And that's okay, but that's also why I believe Damien Harris could be taken in the first round, is because he is an outstanding talent. He's a guy who is tough to bring down. He's a strong runner, and he's got some quickness. He doesn't have as much speed as you'd like him to have, but he's got some quickness, and he's shifty. This is a guy who could go at the very end of the first round. He could. He could go at the very end of the first round in a type of pick that Lamar Jackson was taken by the Baltimore Ravens this past year. That definitely could happen. I could see it because of the fact that there aren't a ton of great running backs, and there are running back needy teams out there in the NFL who may say, hey, we've got to jump in there and take this guy. Whereas the other opposite thinking could be, well, they'll go second round or third round and take the offensive lineman, the defensive lineman, or someone else that they need more than the running back because they may not value the running back to be number one, for a first round pick. But could you see Damien Harris going in the first round? Yeah, I could see him. I could see him being a first round talent.
Yeah, and I'm on the same boat. I'm going to say could he, and the thing I like about, there's things I like and things I don't like about Damien Harris. And the thing I don't like necessarily, people are going to say, well, why hold it against him? Because it's really, you can't blame him for who he is. But the thing I don't like is, to me, in this modern day NFL, I don't know if he can be the bell cow for a team. And I say that because I don't know if he fits the mold of like an Alvin Kamara, a Kareem Hunt that we're seeing, a maybe even a Todd Gurley-esque player. However, the thing that I do see, and maybe this is me typecasting him a little bit because of he is a little bit taller, but he's the same kind of weight as this player in the NFL, I wonder if he could be a Mark Ingram-esque player.
Ricky, he is Mark Ingram. He is Mark Ingram right now. If you put,
but is that
if you
a
put
bell
Mark,
cow in the NFL?
Yes.
Okay.
Mark Ingram is more of a bell cow than Alvin Kamara ever probably can be. And that's not to say anything bad about Alvin Kamara. I think Alvin Kamara, the reason why they love having both of those running backs in New Orleans is because, one, they're both
change
potent,
of pace.
And two, it's a change of pace. I think if they just had Mark Ingram, they'd be okay. Mark Ingram is a little bit more of a tougher runner, whereas Alvin Kamara is more that shifty guy. He's a scat back, but not. He's shifty like Tariq Cohen, but built a little bit bigger than what Cohen is. The reason you look at the Chicago Bears, Cohen could never be the bell cow.
Yeah,
that's why they have Howard. They have Howard to be their bell cow. They have Cohen to be their shifty guy out in space who has really good speed. To to a lesser thing over in New Orleans because theirs is a bit different than Chicago's, and Kamara is a bit different than Cohen, and by a bit I mean a lot. But that's kind of, they have a 1-2 punch, and for a reason. Ingram is that more of a tougher runner. He still has speed. Trust me, he certainly has some speed, but not the type of speed and breakaway explosion speed like Kamara has. He can hit that second level boom like that, but Ingram doesn't quite have that, but he has a little bit more of a tougher bruising running style than Kamara does. So they really play off each other, but exactly that is what I see from Damien Harris is Mark Ingram. If you put a tape of both of them in just a random, just white jersey side by side running, I think you would see almost the same player in both of them, because that's the type of player they are. They've got a lot of strength in their lower body, but also they have some great upper body strength as well. I mean, they are just strong guys and can really carry the football, and it's like full steam ahead. It's then, can they get that speed through the second level? And I think they can, but not as well as other guys like an Alvin Kamara can.
Well, and I guess the thing that, and I know that college is a little bit different than the NFL, but I'm going to take a little case study here using the top 5 rushers in the NFL right now. And this year might not be the best year, so some of them I might look back to previous years as well, but like looking at the top rushers in the NFL right now, you've got Todd Gurley, who leads the pack. He's, if he gets 22 tonight on Monday Night Football, he'll be over 1,000 yards for the second straight season, third in his last 4 years. He's a guy, though, that last year had 64 receptions. This year already has 40 receptions and was targeted 53 times this season. Ezekiel Elliott, he's a guy going to be an 1,000-yard rusher this season. 42 receptions this year, which is the most that he's ever had in his 3 years in the NFL. James Conner comes onto the scene this year. He's got 796 yards. As of right now, he's got 45 receptions of his own. And then you look at the last two guys. Kareem Hunt, he's a 754-yard rusher. This year only has 32 receptions compared to 53 last year, but that's one where I'm looking at going, is that because of the Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith, and the changes that they're going through? And then you have Melvin Gordon, who 741 yards as of right now, 42 receptions on the year. And I know college is different, but I look at Damien Harris. Yes, he's got 678 yards right now. Yes, he's got 7 touchdowns. If you compare that to the NFL guys, not that bad. I know that NFL talent different than college, but if we took those numbers and put them in the NFL, all right, you can be a main back. The thing that I don't want to say concerns me, but the thing that I wonder if he can do it more is the receiving part of it, as he's only got 16 receptions for 166 yards. And to me, it kind of seems like running backs who are going to be that number one guy in these running back systems now are going to have to be almost like, look at Saquon Barkley. He's not a guy that just runs the ball. He catches the ball as well. So with Damien Harris, I wonder, that's why I kind of use that bell cow term, is he going to be a guy that he's our main guy and can do both? Or is he going to fit that Mark Ingram role as, hey, we've already got the scat guy like a Cohen, like a Kamara. Now we need our bruiser up the middle, and that could be Damien Harris.
So Harris has only caught 46 passes in his whole college career. 46 passes.
But is that just Alabama's system?
That's it. I think, I don't necessarily know about that. I think he could probably still become better as a receiver, but he's really good in pass protection. He's really good in pass protection, and
he's physical.
That's one of those things, though. When you are going into the draft and you're looking at running backs, one of the biggest things of why a running back cannot stay on the field on third down is they're not good in pass protection. That's why they're good for first down, they're good for second down, and they're coming off on third. A team, if they didn't have to bring in another guy, they'd be happy to keep one guy out there to be their bell cow, and then someone to just spell him every once in a while. But if he continues to be as good in pass protection as he is now and then get better, he's a guy who's making the case to keep him on the field for first, second, and third down, and that is huge. So there's some things he can certainly get better in some areas he can certainly get better. You know, you don't really get faster, but you don't want to get faster to lose muscle and stuff like that, on one side of things. I think it's if he can develop into a little bit more of a pass catcher, he can be right up there with some of these other guys. I'm not saying that he would come into the league and be Todd Gurley. I'm certainly not saying that, but I think that he could come into the league and people could very quickly see the similarities between him and Mark Ingram. I think, like I said, I already see them. So certainly do you.
Well, that's why I threw out Mark Ingram's name.
Well, exactly. That's why I said certainly you do as well. But I think that we could see some instant success out of Damien Harris in the NFL. I've loved what I've seen from him in college. And here's also the thing, is that Damien Harris, for the most part, isn't the guy who's going to throw out there a 250-yard performance with 3 TDs like we've seen some guys do on certain teams. That's certainly not that's really not Alabama's system. They play a little bit more balanced with maybe a little bit more going to the run. At least they have in the past. This year, a lot of pass because of Tua Tagovailoa. But I like that. It's a consistent type of thing to keep all of their running backs pretty fresh. But they do lean on Damien Harris to be their kind of number one guy, and he has been their number one guy, and he's really proven himself to be that and to do that and take on that role. I've liked what I've seen from him in college. 2 1,000-yard rushing campaigns with more yards obviously added on via the receiving end, but he's just going to have to become a better receiver. But that you can be taught, that you can learn. But his strength, his running style, those things, you really can't be taught all of that.
Last thing because I don't want to harp on the negative. But the one thing I will say with the receiving thing is Mark Ingram in his Alabama career, 3 years at Alabama, 60 catches overall for 670 yards, where his most was his sophomore season. He had 32, then 21 in his senior season. And even in the NFL, you look at Mark Ingram, you look at his receiving numbers, 11 receptions, 6 receptions, 13, wasn't getting targets. He didn't get over 13 targets until his 4th year in the league. Like, that was something that, yes, it could have been because the Saints also had, like, guys like Darren Sproles. They've always had that complementary to a Mark Ingram, but there's also, hey, he's got to develop this as well. And if Damien Harris can develop that, that will only help him at the next level. But one thing I want to go into of a strength of his, and this goes into his running ability, the film that I'm looking at right now, this is from last year, a game they played against, I think this is Mississippi State. I'm going to describe the play the best I can, but this is the thing that Damien Harris does so well. So it's a play where you got Jalen Hurts, Damien Harris is to his right. Calls a hike. It's a sweep across the left, or sweep from left to right. He hands it off to Damien Harris. The entire line is moving to the right. Like, hey, this is just going to be a sweep, and he's going to go. Well, what he sees is in the middle, this hole just starts to open. He stops on a dime, changes direction, and flies right through that hole, and then he changes and turns right up the sideline. This kid, I'm going to say, like I say kid, but he's not that much younger than us. Damien Harris, the best thing that he does, running ability-wise, he's got a knack for finding the hole, and even if he has to change direction, he'll stop on a dime and attack that hole and then get through it.
I was also going to say I don't want to say that he totally does, but he is similar to the vision of Le'Veon Bell, a guy who can in one of the clips that I'm looking at and that I pulled up is against Vandy, where he takes the handoff, goes up behind the pile, sees there's nothing there, cuts it back left, takes his time to find that hole, cuts it back left, hits the hole, bursts, and is gone for 50 yards. So that's another thing that is going to be
his
great.
Stutter steps is I'm going to slow down, up there's the hole, and then just kind of burst right through it.
That's what also makes a good running back, is a guy who's got some patience. He's not always going to go over here, because if he went over there, he could have gone over there.
Yeah.
He gets 1 yard. Instead, he cuts it back left, has the patience, sees the hole, has the time, thanks to that offensive line, too. You have to give them credit. And he's gone for 50.
And because of his size, it looks like because of his size, he can fit through the smallest of holes. Like, this is a guy who, I mentioned he's a little bit taller than Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram, 5'9", I believe Damien Harris, 5'11". But they are the same size, like 215. And there are some holes where it's like so thin and he just fits just right in between it. And that could be something good at the next level.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's another reason. We've mentioned a number of things here now that those are the reasons why Damien Harris could be a first-round talent, or certainly a high second-round talent. Those are all the things that I believe would make a running back a good running back and someone that you would want to go get. Vision, and that's what he certainly has shown. Patience as a running back, being able to hit the hole, being able to get some speed to the next level. Of course, he does not have the best breakaway speed. He doesn't. Not as good as what he doesn't have Tyreek Hill breakaway speed. He has more of the Mark Ingram, breakaway speed. He's on that level where you're fast, but you're known more for your hard running ability, tough running, really strong core, strong upper body, and then, obviously strong legs too, to just keep driving and driving and driving, which he's done a number of times for Alabama throughout his career. There's a lot of good here. There's a lot of good. And again, another thing is that he's a guy who could become a pass catcher. He's really good in pass blocking. This is someone who could turn out to be a really good running back for an NFL team and stick with them. He could be one of the Alabama running backs that pans out, not a Trent Richardson where it's like, wow, he had one great year and then who's Trent Richardson? I think he'd be more like a Mark Ingram, where he continues to have a good career, a long career throughout his many days in the NFL.
I want to ask you this right at the end. I know the segment's not about him, but comparing him to Damien Harris, because if we go back to our first NFL big board, and I know December 3rd this will change, I didn't have a single running back in my top 25. You had 40, but you had Damien Harris at 21. In the mock drafts that both Mark and I did, I had Damien Harris going 25th overall to the Oakland Raiders, only because I could see them needing a running back. I also had the Texans taking a running back as well.
I wouldn't wish anyone having to play for the Oakland Raiders on anybody.
Here's the thing I want to ask you, though. Comparing to Damien Harris, and maybe we can have this debate because of the type of year he's had this year, the guy you had right above Damien Harris, Bryce Love. How do you think he compares to Damien Harris? And could this be a 1-2 that we talk about all of draft season to who should be the guy that teams pick, Bryce Love or Damien Harris, as the first running back off the board?
Who's Bryce Love again?
Stanford? You're joking. For the people who don't get the sarcasm, you are joking.
Yeah, I am joking. And I'm joking because Bryce Love, and honestly, who could have predicted it? Probably a couple of people did. I didn't. I did not predict that Bryce Love would come out this season.
But you wanted him to come out last year.
And just have the, yeah. I mean, I think that it makes a little bit more, looking hindsight is 2020. And it's easy to be able to say, well, you should have come out last year. It would have made sense. He wanted to come back and have another campaign, and I don't think that he anticipated or anyone would expect that he would come out and have injuries and have some really bad games. But he's had injuries in some really bad games. I think that he still has a lot of skills. I think he still has a lot to show, a lot to offer. But it hurts him. It hurts him a little bit. I don't know how much it will hurt his draft stock. It's kind of like the Michael Porter Jr. He's got a lot to offer, and people know it, but there was this injury that kept him out for a good part of the year, and what are we supposed to do now? It's kind of one of those, but I still think Bryce Love has really... I think he's really good. I think that you talk about a running back in the passing game. I think Bryce Love is a running back who could thrive in the passing game.
Although he's not used as a passing back a lot at Stanford. Like, he's also had, because I had to look this up, Bryce Love this year, his most receptions since his freshman year, 16 for 83.
But
he's got the skills.
But he's got the skills. I think he's shifty enough to be able to do that. That was not the system for him to be able to do that.
Yeah.
He's got some great speed as well. I know that he's a good running back, but I continue to get a little held up with how poor this season's been.
And the reason why I kind of wanted to talk about this right now is you look at even like Mel Kiper. After his big board, he's got the positional rankings, like the top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 running backs. And even with the running backs, he goes, there's not a clear first rounder in this group of guys. Why we're asking the question, could Damien Harris be a first round pick? Because this could be a year where running back, it's like, hey, and I know Mel Kiper, you guys are going to say, well, Mel doesn't believe that running back should be taken in the first round. That might be true, but I mean, I look at these guys, and Bryce and Damien, if they are going to be taken in the first round, it's going to be, to me, by a team in that playoff round. So, like, maybe I'll say 23 through the end of the first round, where you're looking in that range, like, okay, these are the playoff teams, the teams that were in the playoffs. These are the ones that could maybe take a stab at the running back, or someone could trade up for that running back late in the round, maybe for the 30th pick, the 31st, just to get that extra year, that extra option on the guy. Any final thoughts on Damien Harris before we move on into our picks?
No, I think Damien Harris is a running back who's had a pretty darn good career with Alabama. I think he's someone that certainly can be a good quality NFL running back.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in that comment section. Let us know what you think. Could Damien Harris be a first-round pick, and what do you think of Damien Harris and his draft stock early on? Cannot wait to be doing this more, kind of taking dives into guys, kind of dissecting them. I know I can't wait to look at the film and kind of really dive into that film after the football season is over and doing all those film breakdowns this year, because, knock on wood, I will do it this year. Like I said it the last 2 years, this year I'm actually going to do it because I've got more free time, especially during that time of the year. But let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section.